With the talks of a new engine and properly updating the game visually eventually, Riot still has a big problem if they don't do anything about updating old champions. There are 169 champions in League now, and a lot of the old ones from 2009 to 2013 never got any updates, or they just got very basic ones many years ago and need another one, and with Riot only visually updating 2 to 3 champions a year now, it's going to take decades to update all of them, and by the time they do that, the old ones that got updated now will need a second update. So what is the solution? Mass update them from the assets from Wild Rift? Just make a lot more ASUs at the same time? Maybe. Let's go over every single champion that needs or could use an update, and also a place where they could already take inspiration from, like Wild Rift or Legends of Runeterra, and hope they will do a mass update at some point to bring all the old champions to current standards. So let's go in order of release date for every champion and see the ones that never got an update or that could use another one since they got a very minor one ages ago. I mostly focus on the ones that didn't get any visual changes since 10 years ago or so the ones without any visual updates or reworks or ASUs since before 2014. Ashe got a visual update in 2012 since she used to look even worse, then a minor texture update, but she still looks bad model wise and has super basic animations. As for inspiration, she got really cool art in Legends of Runeterra, and she also looks a lot better in Wild Rift, and not just for her showcase model, but she does have a newer, cooler in-game model too there as well. Master Yi received a visual update in 2013, he used to look horrible before, but still he doesn't look that amazing. And same as for Ashe, he got an amazing redesign in Legends of Runeterra, and is also in Wild Rift where his showcase model looks amazing, and Riot did say that they want to try and use those showcase models for updates like they were recently testing with Malphite, so hopefully that works out and they will be able to use them. Soraka got 2 visual updates in 2012 and 2014, but still looks a bit dated compared to newer champions, especially if you put her side by side with her Wild Rift model and her Legends of Runeterra art. She's not in a dire need of another, but could use a better in-game model and nicer animations. Twisted Fate is one of the worst looking ones. He only got a visual effects update, but his in-game model wasn't touched ever since 2012, so he does look very outdated, especially if we look at how cool he looks in his art from Legends of Runeterra and his models from Wild Rift. Singed is another interesting one, since he got a visual update in 2014, but if we compare him to his Wild Rift look or how he looks like in Arcane, his base model is pretty bad, but he did just receive a new skin that we'll all get for free, so we can count that as a free basic ASU without any new animations. Now this guy is one of the worst looking champions in the game and one of the ones that needs a visual update the most. Zilean looks absolutely horrible in game, straight out of a PS1 game. He never got any kind of visual updates ever since he got released in 2009 apart from new visual effects, so his model and animations are some of the oldest ones in the game right now. He's not in Wild Rift, but he has a fantastic look in Legends of Runeterra, and I hope they will use this redesign for his update in 2053 or so when they get to updating him. Tryndamere is one of the constant contenders for a VGU. He was part of the last vote, but he also didn't receive any visual updates since 2011 apart from effects, so he's also in need of a touch-up. And Riot wants to update his abilities too, not just visuals, since he was part of the VGU pool. As for how he could look like, he's both in Legends of Runeterra and in Wild Rift, looking 10 times better than in League in both. Amumu, same as Zilean, never received any kind of visual changes apart from effects, so he looks the same as he did back in 2009 still. I feel like Amumu would be a pretty simple champion to update. They could go with a more of a basic ASU and just do an HD version of Amumu and make him look like in Wild Rift. Or they could go crazier and redesign him a bit and make him more unique, with a ton of new Yordle animations like they did with Teemo. Cho'Gath is one of my personal picks for champions that I would really love to see updated the most. Not only he looks terrible in game, but he has a lot of potential, and Riot didn't give any attention to him in any other games. He's not in any other Riot IPs, but we do have some amazing fan-made rework designs for him. And if they go in that direction of a much cooler looking, ever-evolving dinosaur-like void creature, he would instantly become 100 times cooler as a champion. And since he was also part of the VGU polls, same as Tryndamere, I hope they will make him better one day. Anivia also didn't get any visual updates since she got released, so she also looks quite ancient. She's not in Wild Rift, but she is in Legends of Runeterra, where she looks a lot more majestic. Just imagine how much cooler she would look like if they fully delivered on her Freljord bird goddess theme. Ramos is another contender for the VGU update, so we already know he looks bad, and we already know how much better he could look like if we compare him to his model from Wild Rift, looking a lot superior to his PC current version, and maybe he could use a few more voice lines too. He could also say fine, very well, and alright apart from okay. Veigar also didn't get any major changes since release, and he's in both Legends of Runeterra and in Wild Rift with a ton of a cooler look and design. And same as Amumu, it wouldn't be that complicated to update him, just make him HD Veigar. Corki looks horrible too in game, just look how much better his Wild Rift model looks. Both him and his vehicle look a lot better and seem like they would fly better too. And speaking about vehicles and flying, this video is sponsored by War Thunder. War Thunder is the most complex vehicle combat game ever made, available for free on PC, consoles and on mobile too. You can play and fight with tanks, planes, helicopters and also ships from 10 major nations, ranging from old school planes and cars from the 1920s to the modern fighter jets and tanks of today. It's a very immersive game with awesome graphics and sound effects and very detailed vehicles, with one of the best vehicle damage models in any game, and you can see all the little components of every vehicle, X-ray vision, multiple game modes for every type of player, and a very in-depth customization so you can make your vehicle look just the way you want it. So try it out for free today and join their growing 70 million player base in epic PvP battles with a ton of content to explore and discover and more to come. There is no better game if you are a fan of military history and combat, so click the link in the description and also claim a massive bonus pack for new players and those returning after 6 months on PC and console, including multiple exclusive cosmetics, silver coins and 7 days of premium. Kassadin is quite an annoying one because he did get a basic visual update about 10 years ago, but they didn't really fully deliver on what he should feel and look like. They also gave him a cool new splash art in 2022 when they added him in Wild Rift, where he looks insanely better. And they also gave him a new in-game model there too, not just the showcase one or the splash art, so it would be nice to see that cool Void Protoss model come to PC as well. Blitzcrank is one of those quite simple champions to update too. Just give him a couple more polygons and touch up on his texture, and give him more cool robot beats that move while he's moving or using abilities. He already has this look in Wild Rift that compared to his PC model makes him look like one of those fast food burger commercials versus the real burger. So it would be nice to see him getting an upgrade eventually. Janna got a visual update in 2011, imagine how she looked like before. But this one is interesting, because if they do update her, they can go in multiple ways. They can just make an HD Janna using her Wild Rift look, or they can go with her really cool and unique redesign they did for Legends of Runeterra, and go all in with her Wind Goddess theme. Malphite is another frustrating one, since he looks so damn horrible on PC but so cool in Wild Rift and Legends of Runeterra. And people already managed to port his Wild Rift showcase model on PC, and Riot is also apparently planning on doing just that with him too as a visual update. So hopefully their experiment will succeed and they can do that with multiple ones. Katarina was part of the Assassin update in 2016, but that mostly changed her gameplay, not her looks. Her last visual update was in 2012, and she is a super popular champion and looks so much better in both Wild Rift and Legends of Runeterra, so I do hope they end up giving her an ASU. Shaco is another one of the candidates for a VGU, and this one, same as Cho'Gath, isn't part of any other Riot games, so we can't really know what they would have planned for him with an update. But we know for sure that he does really need one, and we just have a few really well-made, fan-made visual updates for him. Nidalee got her visual update back in 2012, and since then, she got this amazing redesign in Legends of Runeterra that I would really love to see on PC too one day. Nikki Boy, together with Bearded Shepherd and Daniel Matos, made this amazing concept as a fan-made skin, so it would be lovely to see Nidalee look like this one day too. Gragas is another really great offender, since his base model offends my eyes when I look at him. Really terrible looking model with pizza feet, and he does look a ton better in Wild Rift, so hopefully they learn how to reuse their own models one day and update him to look more like that in League 2. Shen is another very basic looking champion that also didn't really get any love visually since he was released in 2010. Just look how much cooler and how much more of a ninja he looks like in Wild Rift and Legends of Runeterra, so a new model with more animations would definitely help him out a lot. Kenan is the same as Shen, could also be a much cooler ninja if they updated his looks a bit and made him look closer to his Wild Rift style or Legends of Runeterra design. Malzahar just got a few texture updates, so he also looks pretty outdated compared to newer champions. Unfortunately, he's not in Legends of Runeterra or in Wild Rift, so we don't really know how he would look like with an updated design. Olaf also didn't get any changes apart from a few texture updates, so he does look very bad in game. There's even a hole in his model around his eyes, and look how much better he looks in Wild Rift, so hopefully they turn him into a real Viking and make him look like that in League 2 eventually. Kog'Maw is another VGO contender. He needs love both visually and gameplay wise, but he is also not in either Wild Rift or Legends of Runeterra, so we don't really know how an updated Kog'Maw would look like. Xin Zhao doesn't look great, but doesn't look terrible either. He could also just use a more simple ASU that keeps him the same, but more HD, like he looks in Wild Rift. Vladimir also looks pretty outdated visually, and he got two redesigns. one that is more closer to his original look in Legends of Runeterra, and one that changes him quite a lot in Wild Rift, and even gives him a new in-game model too. So it would be nice to see if Riot updated him in one of those two directions. Miss Fortune doesn't look too bad visually, and she did get a visual update in 2015, but she also looks 10 times better in Wild Rift and Legends of Runeterra, and has more skins than voice lines, and is a very popular champion, so she's a perfect fit for an eventual ASU. Same thing for Sona, she looks fine, but also looks a lot better in Wild Rift. And same for Lux, she's one of the most popular champions in the game, so it's quite weird she looks so bad in her main game compared to how she looks like in both Wild Rift and Legends of Runeterra, and also has a ton of skins, an ultimate skin and multiple legendaries, so she would be a great pick for an ASU too. LeBlanc just looks very bad, and the same way she did back in 2010 when she was released. Not just for having this cheap stripper outfit, but her textures and animations are awful. She's not in Wild Rift, but she got this fantastic art in Legends of Runeterra, so it would be lovely if they decided to update her a bit in that style too. Cassiopeia doesn't look fantastic either, but she's not as bad as LeBlanc and other champions. And she's not in any other Riot game yet, but we do have this cool redesign made by Nikki Boytel. Maokai doesn't look too bad since he did get an update 10 years ago, and his style in Legends of Runeterra is similar to his style in League, but he did recently get a pretty cool redesign in Wild Rift that a lot of people seem to prefer, so it's a matter of opinion if you like his current PC style more or this redesign they gave him in Wild Rift more. Jarvan also doesn't look that bad until you compare him to his Wild Rift model. Then he looks like he came out in 2011 because he did come out in 2011. And he also got some fantastic artwork in Legends of Runeterra too. Then another one of my champions I wish would get reworked as soon as possible, Nocturne. Another contender for a full VGU by Riot to reach his full nightmare potential and not have those weirdest poking eyes like he does in his current model. If they just bring him closer to his Legends of Runeterra design and make him creepier and more of a full nightmare demon, he might become one of the coolest champions in the game. Brand is the same as Jarvan, not so bad until you put him side by side with his Wild Rift model. And he also got a better in-game model in Wild Rift 2, not just the showcase one. Rumble also didn't get any changes since 2011, and he does have this amazing updated design in Legends of Runeterra. So imagine how much cooler he could look like if they went with that style in League 2. Vayne as well looks 10 times cooler in other games, both in Wild Rift where she looks fantastic, and in Legends of Runeterra where they went with her Sentinel look from Ruination as her canon base design. So I guess they just used her Sentinel legendary skin on PC as a replacement for an ASU. Orianna looks quite rusty too, and her model in Wild Rift just makes her so much better. They even fully updated some of her skins too, like Gothic Orianna that looks infinitely superior in Wild Rift compared to PC, and they even gave her a new splash art too, apart from the new model in the showcase and in game. Leona is not too bad, but she also didn't get much love, apart from Diana, and she does look so much cooler in both Wild Rift and Legends of Runeterra. She even got a cool new splash art in Wild Rift that I'm not sure why they didn't want to just use in PC too. Wukong didn't age too badly either, but he also looks a ton better in Wild Rift than he does on PC. Same for Talon, he's not that bad until you see his model in Wild Rift that just puts his League 1 to shame. Riven is another really good candidate for an ASU I would think. Popular champion with lots of skins, including legendaries, and much better looks and designs in both Wild Rift and Legends of Runeterra. Xerath looks pretty basic, not too bad, but he could look much cooler. Look at what they did with him in Legends of Runeterra, for example. Graves is also not that horrible, but then you look at him in Wild Rift and you would probably like for him to look like that on PC too. Shyvana is getting her rework, eventually. Fizz I think falls in the same category as Amumu and Rammus. A pretty easy champion to make look better if you just make an HD Fizz that looks more like his Wild Rift or Lore looks, and with a couple more fishy animations. Victor is getting his rework very soon. Ziggs is the same as Fizz, could look a lot better with a pretty simple upgrade. Nautilus just got a cool new look in Wild Rift together with a new splash art, so it would be nice to make him more like that and a bit more ominous. Same for that cool art he got in Lore as well. And same for Lulu, she looks pretty dated on PC and much cooler in both Wild Rift and Legends of Runeterra. Her PC model looks like she got squished instead of being a Yordle, and she's missing her neck. Hecarim did get a new splash art when he was added to Wild Rift, but didn't get that cool new look they gave him, and they also used that design in game too, so it would be nice, same as Nocturne, if they delivered more on his team on PC too. Jace also looks much better in Wild Rift and Lore, but at least he's getting a really good legendary skin from Arcane. Zyra doesn't look too bad, but she did get a cool new look in Wild Rift with a new splash art and a new model too. Same for Diana, she looks fine, but she could look much cooler if they made her closer to her Legends of Runeterra and Wild Rift looks. Syndra too, not too bad looking, but they did give her a great redesign recently in Wild Rift, and they even used her new splash art from there on PC too, so why not also bring that cool new model as well. Vi should have gotten an ASU with Arcane to be honest, instead they gave her a legendary skin. Queen is the final contender for Riot's VGU, even if she doesn't look too bad, they could make her a lot better looking with a design that's more similar to the Legends of Runeterra look. And the last one, Jinx, another insanely popular champion that should have been given an ASU with Arcane, like Caitlyn received, but instead they gave her a $250 skin instead of a visual update. She already looks so much better in literally every other Riot IP, in Wild Rift, in Legends of Runeterra, in the upcoming 2xKO game, in Arcane, in TFT, even in Fortnite, so I find it quite baffling that they didn't give her an ASU instead of a very expensive skin as a replacement for her base skin, if you can afford to throw your wallet at the screen for it. But that's about it for most of the champions that could use a visual update. Some obviously need it more than others, but which one of those do you think would need it the most? And are there other newer champions too that I didn't mention that you would like to see updated? Thanks to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Play it now for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox or mobile using my link in the description and claim the limited bonus package too, and thanks for watching. Meow.